Judaism is a religion of behavior and not faith. What makes us Jewish is what we do. There are infinite ways in Jewish tradition to talk about God, and there's no definitive position. And there are two wonderful books by Rabbi Rafat Sonsino, and Rabbi Rafat Sonsino sometimes watches our service. I have no idea why he does it, and I'm very flattered when he does. But he wrote two very wonderful books that are kind of an anthology of the different views of God. And one of the things you end up with, the Jews can't agree upon anything. Judaism is about doing. It's about the leap of action. That is why Judaism is built on mitzvot, which the word, I guess the best way to translate it are commandments. I call them value actions, things that we're called upon to do that are either ritual or ethical, but they're about doing. They're not about talking. Okay, what is the most difficult ritual mitzvah in Jewish life? Something related to religious behavior. I don't think you're going to guess it. It's not about fasting on Yom Kippur. It's not about not eating chametz on Passover. It's not about putting mezuzah on your door. It's not about observing Yahrzeit. It appears to be the most simple commandment of all. It's basically counting 1, 2, 3. And what am I referring to? I'm referring to on the second night of Passover, and we did it last week, the Torah commands us, and let me quote, "And you shall count for the day after the festival," meaning the beginning of the Passover, "from the day when you bring a measure of grain 7 full weeks." I'm not going to get into all to the agricultural details there. But the counting includes the 50th day, which is the festival of Shavuot. And that's it. It's so simple. It requires not more than a minute. Let me do it, and you have to time it, okay? So tell me when to go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer hayom echad asar yom shehem shavuot echad v'arba'a yamim la'omer. Today is the 11th day, 1 week and 4 days of the Omer. How long?
You were about 5 seconds over.
I was 5 seconds over 1 minute? Oh man, I'm really upset. Okay, it takes 5 seconds more than a minute. You got to keep me honest. That's good. Okay, that's fine. Now, what does the tradition mean to us? We are told that it is to remind us of the link between Passover and the festival of Shavuot. Passover is the festival of freedom, and Shavuot is the holiday on which we celebrate the Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah, Mount Sinai. And we're not going to get into details whether it's true, a myth. Forget about that. That's what the Torah is saying to us. We can't have freedom without something to do with our freedom, and the Torah instructs us what we are to do, what the rules are. The counting must be done at night, so each day is complete. Okay, so far so good. So why is the counting of the Omer so hard? The mitzvah of the counting of the Omer is dependent upon counting each and every one of the 49 days. Unlike other commandments, there's no partial credit. You cannot leave out even 1 day. If you forget to count the Omer in the evening, when it's normally done, you are allowed to count the next day without a blessing. And then you can still resume the following night. But it's not so simple. Jewish law says that if you forget to count for a full 24 hours and you miss out on one of the day, you're not allowed to recite the blessing anymore. You can't continue the counting of the day, but you can continue, but without a bracha. It's a kind of consolation prize, but you really have ruined it for yourself. Are you following, yes? You have to do it every night. You say it with a blessing. You forget to do it. You do it in the morning, then you start out at night, the next night, and continue it, but you're really not doing it because there's no bracha. That's hard. Many of us are not so disciplined and we forget. It happens, it certainly happened to me. I can't convince that all Jews, I know there's some Jews who are perfect. I'm so far from perfect. You shouldn't look at me as an example. Okay, now we know the history and we know the laws. But what does that have to do with us? What is the religious awakening that we're supposed to celebrate? What is the teaching? Now, my hero, Rabbi Mordechai Kaplan, says if you can't come up with a meaning for something, you shouldn't do it. The teaching is so obvious, it's so beautiful, and it's so simple. Every moment in our lives is significant. Every action has importance. There's no day which does not have significance. We dare not squander any day in our life. The counting of the Omer is the celebration of the mundane, the sacredness just living every day. It's the ordinary that needs to be celebrated. It's sitting at the table with our kids in the morning and chatting with them. It's waking up in the middle of the night and feeding a young child who's crying. It's about schlepping our children to all of their activities. It's about finding a way to say something nice to a person every day. We can't squander time. We can't always think there is a future. What good is going on vacation if you come back to your life where there are that you're indifferent to other people? What good is thinking about retirement but missing the journey? Now I have a confession. I don't remember much of my children's upbringing. I don't. Most of their upbringing, I was a rabbi in Orlando, Florida. It was a conservative synagogue of about 425 people. Every day was a meeting. I love the New Reform Temple. We don't have a lot of meetings. Every day was, we don't have a lot of meetings. That's a reason to join the temple besides anything else. I used to go to Shiva Minyan every night. People were always dying. Every day I was working, I was thinking about what I was going to speak about on Friday and on Shabbat. On and on and on. And then I talked to my kids about things in their adult life, in their childhood, as they think about it as adults. And I say, where was I? Where was I? I'm here talking about the Omer, and I don't get the lesson in my own life. I never got it. There is a great theologian, and some of you know her, called Irma Bombeck. And I've shared this with you before, but I always like revisiting it because she kind of gets what I'm talking about. And it's entitled, If I Had My Life to Live Over. She says, someone asked me the other day if I had my life to live over, would I change anything? My answer was no, but then I thought about it and changed my mind. If I had my life to live over again, I would have waxed less and listened more. Instead of wishing away 9 months of pregnancy and complaining about the shadow over my feet, I'd have cherished every minute of it and realized that the wonderment growing inside me was to be my only chance in life to assist God in a miracle. I would never have insisted the car windows be rolled up on a summer day because my hair had just been teased and sprayed. I would have invited friends over to dinner even if the carpet was stained and the sofa faded. I would have eaten popcorn in the good living room and worried less about the dirt when you lit the fireplace. I would have taken the time to listen to my grandfather ramble about his youth. I would have burnt the pink candle that was sculptured like a rose before it melted while being stored. I would have sat cross-legged on the lawn with my children and never worried about grass stains. I would have cried and laughed less while watching television and more watching real life. I would have shared more of the responsibilities carried by my husband, which I took for granted. I would have eaten less cottage cheese and more ice cream. I would have gone to bed when I was sick instead of pretending the earth would go into a holding pattern if I weren't there for a day. I would never have bought anything just because it was practical, wooden show soil guaranteed to last a lifetime. When my child kissed me impetuously, I would never have said later, now get washed up for dinner. There would have been more I love yous, more I worries, more I'm listening, but mostly given another shot at life, I would seize every moment of it. Look at it and really see it. Try it on, live it, exhaust it, and never give a minute back until there's nothing left. Life is not the special moments. It's about the everyday moments which must be embraced. Sometimes it might be a day when it appears that it is filled with drudgery, but we're missing something. Every day is a possible opportunity to say yes to life. This is my understanding of the Omer. It's not some ridiculous thing that we get up and count. It's something so incredibly profound, and I'm so glad that our tradition forced us to rethink it. The counting of our Omer is to teach us to count our days, to use time fully and judiciously, to understand that at the end of our lives, if our time has not been used wisely, we have no one to blame for except our lives, except ourselves. And as it says in the book of Psalms, so teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. Shabbat shalom.